Now to question number 2 in the name of the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Prime Minister. Is he satisfied that the measures that he has announced are adequate to stop the projected surge in unemployment?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the measures we have announced so far and further measures we will announce as economic events unfold are designed to take the sharpest edges off this recession. Job losses would have been greater had these measures not been introduced, and support packages like the Restart scheme will help soften the blow of redundancy for many people. But they will not prevent an overall increase in unemployment over the course of this recession, and the government has been very upfront in saying that. This is a very serious global recession affecting employment in every country in the world.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, does the Prime Minister intend to set out clear and consistent criteria on which the government will base its decisions on whether to bail out specific companies in trouble? And if so, when will he publish these so that all companies that are facing difficulties are clear on where they stand?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the government's already made it clear that it would be a very high benchmark indeed for the government to be involved in bailing out companies. Our preference is that companies look to the classical banking solution to their problems. That is not to say that the government couldn't or wouldn't get involved. We reserve the right to do that. And I suggest if the member doesn't think the government should ever get involved, he goes back onto the workforce and tells New Zealanders, or the work shop floor, and tell New Zealanders his message.
Supplementary.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Supplementary.
I'd already called the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. I do apologise.
Mr. Speaker, what conditions will the Prime Minister, for example, place around financial assistance to companies in trouble to ensure that New Zealand taxpayers' money is being used to protect New Zealand jobs, not jobs that have been or will be transferred overseas?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, members jumping to conclusions. There haven't been any bailouts from this government at this point. But of course, if there was, then there would be conditions. Of course, we would expect those jobs to be maintained, but the members shouldn't jump to conclusions.
Supplementary.
Nathan Guy.
Mr. Speaker, supplementary question to the Prime Minister. What measures has the government introduced to take the sharpest edges off this recession?
Prime Minister.
Speaker, the government has taken a number of measures and will continue to take even more, but at this point we've overseen the deposit, wholesale and retail guarantee schemes. Tax cuts will come on April 1, 2009, an SME package worth $480 million. If I can say, Mr. Speaker, there's been overwhelming response from the SME sector thanking us for that well-targeted package. We're bringing forward expenditure on infrastructure of $483 million. My good colleague, Mr. English, just made reference to the packages that will be delivered through the Resource Management Act and the changes there. There will, of course, be the Jobs Summit that we'll be holding on the 27th of February, and there may well be more measures that come from that.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, does his good colleague, I think he said, Mr. English, support his assurance to Fisher & Paykel that the firm would not be allowed to fail? Or are Mr. English's comments, as reported in the Dominion Post this morning, just further evidence of his view that while Mr. Key floats from cloud to cloud, Mr. English makes the real decisions?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, well, firstly, no assurance has been given to Fisher & Paykel that they won't be allowed to fail. Well, that's the facts of life. And all of Mr. Mallard's running around the press gallery trying to tell them that there was something on Radio New Zealand that there wasn't is just further example that Mr. Mallard makes it up as he goes along.
Point of
Nathan
order,
Guy.
Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I seek leave of the House to table this document that says that Mr. Key says that allowing Fisher & Paykel to fail would be unacceptable.
Leave. Could I just?
Which kind of contradicts what he's just said.
Could I just check for the benefit of the House? Is that a press release?
It's a statement, yes, out of might be off the blog site.
Well,
Let me clarify, Mr. Speaker. It's headed New Zealand.co.nz.
Leavers sought to table a document off a blog site. Is there any objection? There is objection. Supplementary, Nathan Guy.
Mr. Speaker, supplementary to the Prime Minister.
Nathan Guy.
Has he seen any other reports of measures to address growing unemployment?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker,
Honourable
yes,
Prime
I have
Minister.
seen other measures, and you'll be relieved to know I don't just look at blog sites to see those measures as well. I've seen a report from Ruth Dyson, who said last year, when the largest quarterly decline in unemployment for 19 years had taken place, that she said, "Oh, well, I don't think that is bad news at all, actually." I've also seen a report from the opposition finance spokesman, who apparently is developing his own suite of measures to address growing unemployment. He said New Zealanders will be delighted to know that he intends to release that report sometime before the next election.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Is the Prime Minister telling the House that his quoted comments in the New Zealand.co.nz that letting Fisher and Paykel fail would be unacceptable are therefore inaccurate?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think members should read out the whole quote, which is that if an offshore company, I think it was in reference to, wanted to come into New Zealand, would they be in the position where we might look at changing the rules? The answer was, well, I think failure there is unacceptable. There have been no assurances made to Fisher and Paykel that they would not be allowed to fail. It doesn't mean that the government doesn't reserve the right to look to see whether there are things we can do.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, how many companies are on the list of businesses that the Prime Minister referred to on the 21st of January as being those that the taxpayer could be asked to bail out? How much is he prepared to spend in bailing such companies out? And where will he draw the line between which companies will be bailed out and which companies will be allowed to collapse?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, there is no list of companies to bail out. What there is advice from Treasury of sensitivities within the market and challenges that companies could face, but there is no long list of companies to bail out.
Point of order, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I seek the leave of the House to table a document that is headed Key has business bailout list. Is the media wrong again?
Order. Can I just seek clarification again? Is this a press release the member is seeking to table?
Mr. Speaker, this is a document written by Vernon Small for the Dominion Post.
Okay. The member is seeking leave to table a press release. Is there any objection? There is objection. We come now